Now, while this web page completely works, we can make all sorts of awesome, cool passwords here. It really looks ugly. And this is a little bit of story time here. When I was in college, I really wanted to make this website that would help people fill out their NCAA brackets for March Madness. It's this basketball tournament. There's 64 teams. And kind of the idea is everyone fills out brackets, and depending on how many teams you got right, like this team won versus that one, you get points. Like, it's a whole thing, and it's super fun. I love March Madness. My dad, probably like 20 years ago, had made an Excel spreadsheet that basically would fill out your bracket for you and use some amount of determination between, what rank a team was and a little bit of randomness to fill out the bracket for you. He called it the Pickolator. And I've always loved the Pickolator. The Pickolator did great in lots of different office pools. But I wanted to make the web version of that. I wanted to make a website where you go to the web page and it selects, it fills out your bracket for you. And I made that. It took me a lot of weekends to create this thing, but I did. And it looked very much like the website we have now. Like, it was just a bunch of text. Everything was raw. I didn't have any color. And I showed this website off to so many friends and family because I was really proud that I had made something. This was like one of the very first websites I had ever made. And while it was 100% functional, nobody really cared. It actually was a little bit crushing because it's like, look, I just made this thing that randomly picks a bracket for you, and it uses randomness as well as the rank and all this stuff. And people are like, huh, okay. Because it's like you hit the button, the stuff shows up. It's like, okay, fine. It was not until I connected with my friend who was a graphic designer, and we added a background and some coloring, used a custom font. And then on the page where it showed the bracket, we added some animation so that it was like, it would fill in by section. As soon as I added those things in, I showed this to like the same people, and they're like, oh my gosh, like this thing is crazy. Like, it picks it for you. And like, oh my, like, because the animation was slowly going in, it's like, oh, look, it's making the picks. No, it had already made the picks. I just made it look like it was coming in. And anyways, it was just funny that I was showing the exact same stuff, just one was a lot prettier than the other, and that made all the difference in the world. So I say this to tell you that when you make a website, it's not just about the functionality of the thing. A lot of it, if you want people to use your website, is how it looks and how they can interact with it. And so while this website is 100% functional, I don't think a lot of people would like to use this thing. If we apply some styling though, I really think we can take it far. Okay? So enough of that speech. Let's learn how we can actually do this. And I'm going to show you something called Bootstrap. So if you go to getbootstrap.com, this is an awesome framework that allows you to make really nice looking websites really quickly. So this is sort of a middle ground from doing something very custom versus just the absolute standard. It lets you get something that looks very nice very quickly. So I'm going to be showing in this course how to use Bootstrap 4. There may at some point be a new Bootstrap 5 or something like that. And so, if that's the case, I'm going to provide a link back to this version 4 so you can get that. But if it's the current version 4 here, you can see it's like 4.4. As long as the first number is 4, you need to go here to Get Bootstrap and then Get Started. And if you ever need any of this code, I provide the source code for my projects at the end of the section. So you're going to see that just after this. And so what you need to do here is copy this one for CSS. So we're just going to copy this whole thing. In fact, they have a nice little copy button. I should use that. And I'm going to come back to Atom here. And on top of my home.html, I'm just going to paste this in. And I notice I've got a lot of extra space here. I'm going to move that back a little bit. Okay. So basically this line of code, this link, this imports Bootstrap into our project. So it uses CSS, which is a way to kind of stylize your website. It works with HTML to make it look better. And this is going to do a bunch of different things for us. So just by importing this line, I want you to see what the web page, the home page looks like. So I'm just going to reload this. Instantly, you can see it looks better. It's not great, but it's a lot better than it was. So it's pretty cool. It just adds like some extra custom font, and these buttons are just a little bit more established. It looks a little bit more modern. So we actually don't need this about page anymore. So let's go ahead and go back to our code. I'm just going to, on the home page, get rid of this A tag and those BRs that we had before, and then do a little bit more customization here. So with this password generator, we still want to have this h1 tag, but I'm going to wrap all of this inside of something that's called a container. So I'm going to make a div. And so a div tag is basically a way just to organize code. Again, if you need more HTML stuff, lots of good tutorials out there, but I'm going to say div and then say the class is equal to, and inside of my class, I'm going to put container, and I'm also going to specify text-center. Okay, so 1, it's going to center everything on the screen, and 2, it is going to add a little bit of margin on each side. So I've gone ahead and taken that ending div tag and put it down here on the bottom. So it's kind of like saying everything that's in here from this h1 down to the end of the form, this is now inside of this div. So you don't technically have to have this tabbed over, but I like it. It kind of keeps things organized. So I'm going to save this. Let's come back to the home page and reload this, and whoa, look at this. So this is starting to look a little bit better here. Let's go ahead and add some more here. So I'm going to come back to Atom, and we're going to specify a couple of things here. So the first one is with the length. The people might not know that that's what it's for, so we should provide some text there. So I'm going to say length just at the end of this. Go ahead and do a space. So let's see what that looks like. There we go. It kind of falls in line with everything else there. Also the button, Bootstrap has really nice looking buttons. So with this input, I'm going to add another attribute here. I'm going to say class is equal to, and then I'm going to put inside of here btn and btn-primary. Okay, that basically says that this is going to be a button. So if we go ahead and now go back to the home page, reload, oh, look at that. We have this nice generate password, and it just, everything looks a whole lot cleaner here, right? There's lots of other things that we could do. We could have like a nav bar and whatever, but at least for the simple app, just a little bit of work here with Bootstrap has made this look so much cleaner and nicer for somebody. And that takes us to the next page. The grand reveal of the password is kind of lacking here. So let's go ahead and work on our password file. Again, we need to copy this link that we have at the top so that we can use Bootstrap. So I'm going to paste this at the top, save, instantly see how much better this gets. Okay, it's a little bit more stylized. That's about what we got here. Again, we're going to use one of those containers. So in fact, we can just go back to home, copy what we have here. So I'm going to paste this and then do an ending div tag. And I'll just tab this over so everything's organized. So let's save and see what this looks like. Okay, that's not bad. Your password is this. There's the home button, but I think we can do a little bit better here. So the first one is we're going to surround this h2 tag, or we're going to add a class onto it that says first alert, and then we're going to say alert-success. Now there's a bunch of different colors here. If you go look at the Bootstrap documentation, there's lots of things you can do. But if I reload this, ooh, you can see it's in this, nice green box here, and it looks a little bit cooler. Like some of the other ones is you can do like warning, I think is one of them. And if we do this, yeah, now it's in yellow. I kind of like the success one. And then the next thing here is this button is we can make it a better looking button. So I'm going to say here class is equal to button. And then I'm also going to say button dash, and let's do warning on this. I think that gives it a nice color. Okay, so they can clearly see, okay, look, here's the password, and I can hit home and boom, I'm back to this. Okay, so really, that's all I have for you. But with each of our projects, this is something that we're going to be doing at the end, is really applying Bootstrap and making sure it looks great. Because, as of that whole story that I mentioned before, how it looks really has an impact on people. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about this section, and then we'll move forward.